Mercury retrograde here. My live class went early and then got deleted. So the link that I sent everyone is now the wrong link. So I'm not sure if I continue to go live while I quickly send out another email for folks trying to get on, but hopefully you'll all just see me when you pop on YouTube regardless. That's what I'm hoping for because, well, this is just what's happening. So for those of you who are here, welcome, welcome. I want to find a spot to prop my phone. I'm in the garden because I want to be, but I also want to find a spot so I don't have to hold the phone and I can chat with you freely. Let me see what I can do here. Maybe that's good. I don't know. And this is super informal. Just a sort of stream of consciousness. I have my notes too, but just kind of allowing spirit to move through me and share with you guys. However, things arrive in my mind. So I wanted to focus upon spiritual practice through the years that revolve around herbs and that are very simple to do. And I think very powerful, and you know, care are overlooked and underutilized, and the plants can really help facilitate bringing some of those self-care practices back in. Now, one of the first things for me, and that I certainly, with all of these, and I think with many of us, we fall on and off our self-care wagon, right? But the beautiful thing is that you can always come back to it. It's always waiting for you. Back to the practices or practice, pick one, right? And just allow yourself to come back to it in your own time and just continue to, excuse me, my pollen's getting to me today. Enable yourself to make it a ritual, make it common practice so that it doesn't feel like a chore anymore. It becomes as simple and as easy as, sorry, it's getting a little cool out here. The first thing I wanted to share with you is energy clearing. So some people call it smudging, some people, I'm realizing I'm forgetting some of my plants that I wanted to use, but that's okay. What's so beautiful about energy clearing is that it can be a practice for how you begin your day and how you end your day. Act of clearing and grounding yourself. Now, for folks who are kind of like empathic sponges, I can certainly be that way. We tend to let things to move through us, and instead they kind of stay attached to it, kind of like Klingons, right? So what's so important happened in your day, if you had a hard day at work, if you had a challenging conversation with a friend or a loved one, if you just had one of those days that things just didn't shake out. So one of my favorite things to do is to practice clearing first thing upon waking and last thing over. And that's a little bit different now that I'm working and mom. Work doesn't really ever end, but kind of like end of day before you're going to bed. So how can we do this? Well, one of the really fun ways, and actually I've got some allies growing with me in the garden here. I'm just gonna take a sample here. Okay, guys? Okay. A sort of the shortened version of, I've been taught by Rocio Alcaron. She's an amazing shaman, and or Ecuador, I apologize, Ecuador, and incredible herbalist, incredible healer, and she teaches limpia. She calls it limpia, and I know that traditionally limpia is a much longer process You just take some fresh plants. Of course, you ask permission, but the aromatic plants are the best. And so you want to think of rosemary and thyme and oregano. This is ground ivy, mugwort, or any artemisia, because they have thorns. Spearmint, peppermint, lemon balm. The ones with the aromatics it's more effective because of the volatile oils, but also just the act of smelling. Powerful practice. So what do you do for Olympia? You take the plant, I'll stand back here, and you just, now I have clothes on, and that's to not have clothes on when you're doing this, and to just be in the nude, get it right on your skin. I mean, you don't have to do it in the nude, but you know, it's more effective to get some of this plant energy onto your actual skin, because some of the physical properties are going to be absorbed through the skin as well. So important parts to get: crooks of the elbows, armpits, anywhere there's creases, okay? Your root, your low back, back of the neck, hands, and also your feet. Oh, and backs of the knees, okay? So that's where stuck energy likes to sit. But really anywhere you feel calls to, okay? And you do it until you just kind of feel clear. You feel clear. And it's always important to kind of have some sort of mantra, some sort of intention going on in your mind that you're clearing yourself of unwanted energy that's not serving you, okay? And that practice alone is so potent. And of course, you're getting the aromatics of the plant. It's just a beautiful practice. And, you know, first thing in the morning, go outside, pick some plants and hop to it and just, whew. And then once you're done, you want to take this and you want to bury it in the ground and just allow the earth to take it back and transmute all the energy that it's picked up. And really, I mean, use it like a whip, right? If you want a really invigorating Olympia, you can add stinging nettle to your little bundle. And that's always fun, because stinging nettle is very enlivening to the whole body. But I will say that there's some extra potency there with the, you know, the uric acid that it offers your body. You literally do get stung, but it wakens up. It certainly wakes you up, literally, but also encourages your immune system to kind of take action too. So if you're really feeling down and out energetically, it's actually a very, very helpful energy boost to add a little nettle if you want to play with. Access to clearing sprays, they're all over the internet now. I make one, a lot of other places make one, and you use that in the same, and breathe deeply and just slough it off. Now, important point here, I'm outside, so I don't need to open a window, but when you're inside, you want to cry. We want the energy to be released somewhere, right? So go ahead and do that when you're doing any sort of energy clearing. And I will say, it's important to clear your space too. I would say at least weekly, if not daily, because our space, our home, our office, our car really holds on to energies too. And sometimes it just needs a good little spring cleaning, just like anything does. So incense, spray, these are not herbal things, but I like to use using singing bowls, rattles, any sort of bells. Going through some bija mantras are lovely. And you know, sound is very, very powerful, but always holding the intention. Now, one of my favorite things to kind of add to this morning ritual is like a little prayer of calling in, you know, maybe my guides, calling in my help me pave the way for the day for my highest and best, and just clear me from things that don't serve me. Maybe I had some bad dreams the night before, maybe I'm still pulling things from the day before. Just clearing out what doesn't serve me, and you know, the wording might be different for you, but just some sort of affirmative little mantra, little prayer, whatever you want to call it, is really helpful, and it empowers the process of clearing. So that's in the morning. And then at night, same thing, just kind of focusing on arriving home, being present, being home, whatever's going on there, and just clearing out the day from wherever you came from, and letting yourself to yourself and come back to your breath. So your breath is a huge component, intention is a huge component, whatever the mantra or prayer is, and then whatever tools you're using, whether you're doing the fresh plants, whether you're doing incense, liquid, or actual burning it, whether you're using sound or a combination. It's really more for my home, and I really do find it makes a shift for my husband too, and for his it before he arrives, so the house is nice and fresh, so it automatically kind of shifts his energy from what he's bringing home, because stress can come from all different areas, and his job often is very stressful, so it's nice to kind of sprinkler system right as he's coming through the door, of all the herbs that might be already circulating in the air from that. Okay, really sorry about the congestion all of a sudden. What else did I want to talk about? Okay, so this is kind of similar in some ways, and this is something that I've started to offer the public, and that is something I call mirror potion. Is just basically using plants, using aromatics. I use essential oils and flower essences to empower ourselves to kind of mirror and see, focusing on what you want to be happening in your life, how you want to feel. That's a really important one. How do you want to feel? How are you feeling right now? And how do you want to be feeling? Being, distinguishing the two of them. And then coming up with an affirmation. Excuse me, I'm just going to blow. Coming up with an affirmation that heightens how you'd like to feel. So for instance, if you've been really feeling, your affirmation might be, my heart is light, I feel strong and empowered, I live in my peace. Okay, it can be super simple. And now, what's the plant part, right? And you can add it to water to create a little aromatic mist. You can just maybe get a little vial, put some rock salt in it, and just put a few drops. You invite scent in, okay? So it's really powerful to connect scent and your mindset together, and the act of ritual. And that's what's potent with mirror potion. With the mirror potion that I offer folks, together with a affirmation that I conjure up for you, but it's really fun to do on your own, and it's very empowering to be able to do that for yourself. So what you would do, and this is where the term mirror potion comes from, is that you affirmation while you're smelling or spraying your scent, or maybe it's a roll-on scent that you have, and you're repeating the affirmation as you're looking at yourself, and you're saying it as if it already is, right? Not like, I want to be happier, or I free, I am at peace, I am empowered, I am strong, whatever it is that you're wanting to pull into your life. You're saying it as it is, even if it feels funny, even if you don't feel the truth of it yet. Will feel funny at first if you haven't done work like this before, but the more you do it, the more powerful it becomes, and you're literally rewiring your brain, because our bodies, our cells are constantly listening to ourselves. Even if it's just for 10 seconds, you're doing it 10 seconds in the morning, 10 seconds at night, at any time throughout the day when you're struggling. Take a break, take a pee break, grab your spray. You don't have to say it out loud. You can say it to yourself. Pull out your phone and flip it so you can see yourself right on the picture thing on the camera, and just do it. And the more you do it, the more empowered you will feel. And it's an essential oil. I mean, you can also, for folks who are scent sensitive, you could also just use, there's something powerful about scent. So maybe even just adding some alcohol to kind of preserve it, and utilizing that. I know there's a lot of folks that are scent sensitive these days, and essential oils don't work for everyone, but it's really important to smell the magic of the process of rewiring that brain. And I like to do that morning and night as well. So sometimes I will do the clearing and then I'll do the mirror potion morning and night, and throughout the day whenever I remember. Okay, what else do I have for you? Okay, so when it comes to meditation and prayer, it's really important to, tune into in your guides if that's part of your practice. That are my favorite that I like to utilize for that. And some of them are essences and some of them are essential oils. Carrot is a really beautiful one for accessing your intuition and opening things up through your third eye. Basil, sweet basil, is an essential oil that you can lavender, and I do find that rosemary can be a helpful ally in this as well, because it enables your ability to remember and to tap into all and connect to that intuition. So kind of threading those two together. So wild carrot essence, and angelica essence. Angelica calls in your guides, calls in your ancestors, calls in your helpers, right? Enable yourself to kind of be that open vessel for their knowledge, for their guidance. Using those are really helpful. So how do you use them? So a spray bottle and shake them up and just mist yourself, or you can make a little anointing oil. Get a carrier oil, even just olive oil works fine. Put a couple drops. If you're using essential oils, if you're using the flower essences, if you just have one, let's say you have wild carrot. Flower essences can be used topically, they can be used internally. There's no wrong way to use essences. They're very, very safe and gentle, but they're very potent. So less is more. So one drop is your water, drink it while you're meditating, or just rub some in your hands, rub some on your pulse points. Essential oils, of course, have to be added to a carrier. You don't want to use those undiluted on your body, but same thing, you might third eye and help you to access those intuitive parts of yourself and connect again to the divine, to the heavens, to your guides and helpers. So that's a really beautiful practice to utilize when you are having prayer or meditation. Okay, where's the experience with the plants? What else do I have for you? So this is kind of a funny one. I don't remember. I wish I could remember who taught me this practice. One of these days I'll remember. I've done too many conferences with too many different teachers, and I've lost track a lot. One is a little witchier. I guess this is all witchy, but it's about protection. So when you're feeling your home is being sort of infiltrated, or there's some heavy, make a very strong tea to use as a door wash. Okay, so some of my favorite herbs to use, and what I mean is a mop bucket up, throw some of these aromatic herbs in boiling water, and just let sit at least 4 hours or overnight until it's cool, and then you use it to wash your front door. Now the ground ivy, again, what I used for Olympia earlier, Artemisia, mugwort, lavender, rosemary, peppermint, even catnip is really lovely. And what that does is just going to enable protection. And this is, this won't be for everyone, but I promise you it's not as gross as it sounds, and it just kind of adds just a little bit of your own urine, okay, to the huge bucket, right? So it's just a little bit, and it's really just marking your territory and just kind of grounding. And you can add you can add some essential, there's going to be essential oils because you're using plants in there. But if you wanted to add a little soap and essential oil because you're freaked out about adding a little bit of your pee, that's totally fine. But you building, and then we have my front door. I do both. I do both. It's really helped me. I've really seen an enormous shift once, like for the new year or on your birthday or once a month, whatever. If this is an issue that you feel like you just need to protect yourself and that challenges are coming your way, not only can we do like plant washes for the front door, but we can also hang herbs on the front door. So a lot of these traditions have kind of fallen out really and I think potent. So you can, make a big garland wreath. You can, because a lot of these herbs like ground ivy can get really tall, and you can just kind of wind them into a nice little wreath, or you can just your door like that and it will dry really beautifully. But ground ivy, and let me see if I can, ground ivy is like everywhere. So you might even have these things already growing in your front yard. And it's very aromatic. It grows everywhere. It's very invasive, but highly useful as well. Artemisia, so mugwort. I don't have one next to me. And also St. John's wort. And if you're not someone who has a lot of green growing around you, what you can do is you can just make a big like muslin bag, herb center, and get those herbs, fill them up. Lavender's a really nice one too, just for like the aromatic part, but like for protection, mugwort, ground ivy, St. John's wort are like the big ones for like literally being like, back off. Anything that doesn't serve me, we're keeping you out. So almost like the evil eye in herb form, okay? Really beautiful for protection. So again, bundles, wreaths, or a big sachet. You can even like into whatever shape you want, fill it with the herbs, something that you can refill and refresh, because dried herbs will, die over time. And even, of course, fresh herbs are going to be refreshed over time. But this is the time to do fresh herbs if you have access to them. So that can be really beautiful and protective. And just the act of doing these rituals for yourself is so, it reconnects us to our roots, to our intuition, to our own inner needs. So it's a really, just all of this alone, taking time out to do these things is self-care all on its own. Just that simple act to be a really potent part of self-care, especially if you are struggling, questions unanswered, with problems at work, with arguments, with just feeling stuck. Sometimes our access the answers, and especially when we're not making time or we're unable to make time on our day-to-day to get quiet and to listen to our guides and to listen to our intuition, dream time is the time that finally resting. So it can be like shutting off the critical brain and inviting that intuitive self to step forward and offer you guidance. So one of my favorite practices is to, first of all, gather some mugwort, because that's but also for like vivid dreaming. I like to combine it with a little lavender, a little rosemary if you have it. And again, you can do these dried or fresh, but I think fresh is great if you have it. That combination is, and just put it under your pillow, or you can maybe even make a little necklace in like a pouch that you can wear close to your heart as you sleep, whatever's most comfortable for you. And what you'll want to do is you want to write out your herbs. And I encourage you, if you don't have rosemary in fresh herb form, to get a little bottle of the essential oil, and again, just in it a couple drops of rosemary and just smell it under your nose. And that again activates the memory, it activates that part of your brain that just kind of sucks up all the information and helps you to recall it later. So you're going to smell your rosemary, you're going to write your intention, and like, okay, I'm just going to surrender to whatever my dreams are. And every time that you have a dream, you're going to wake up and you're going to jot something down. So this is, it's not necessarily your best night's rest if you're going to be waking up and jotting things down, but it will guidance in a way that might be easier for you than meditation, prayer, etc. So you'll want to have a journal nearby all night long if you're waking up in the middle of the night, because I promise you, you're not going to remember later if you don't jot it down now. Now, it might seem like the dreams, jot the things down that you remember, go back to sleep. Same thing in the morning, wake up, jot things down, and also grab that little vial or that sprig of rosemary, rub it under your nose and sniff it, and Now, I encourage you to write down as much as you can in the moment and upon first waking, but bring that journal with you throughout the rest of the day, because sometimes I find that I'll remember my dreams continuing on and keep sniffing that rosemary as well. So the more that you utilize this practice, again, sniff rosemary, write your intention, go to bed, write them down. The more we practice this, the more we'll get into the cycle of your body and mind remembering the dreams, and you'll start looking back at these really weird dreams or things that seem really out there and maybe you're not able to connect the dots initially. They will come back later and make a lot of sense, and especially if there's recurring messages. And I encourage you to, utilize your own intuition about it and try not to be too literal about some of the messages you might get, and the dream books and the dream analysis, but there's so many different opinions there, and I feel like if we're really tapping into our own intuition, our own subconscious, and our guides, hopefully that are tuning in and helping as well, that's where the messages you might be receiving. But the more we're doing this and the more we're doing any things, the more profound they will be for us, and the easier it will be to just include them in our everyday lives. And I know I'm kind of choose one that you feel super drawn to and just start to utilize it daily and just see how it feels, and get into the habit of doing it. All right, what else do I have here? I mentioned Tulsi. Tulsi is another wonderful essence for meditation and prayer, and I love that it helps you to connect your intuition with your heart and really just open up that heart energy with guidance from the above and from your guides too. So it works really well with angelic, your third eye potion or whatnot, or even just daily use. Remember, essences can be added to tea or water, and that brings up another lovely self-care thing that's super simple and people again overlook it, but thinking about having just a morning tea ritual for yourself. There's something really powerful about slowing down, even if it's just like 5 minutes of sitting at the table with your hot tea, even if it's in a travel mug, you're ready to just holding some intentions for yourself and drinking that tea and just really being present with the flavors, with the experience, the swallowing, feeling the liquid going down, the warmth, the sweetness, if you're adding tea or honey. And you can even do this with coffee. If you're not a tea drinker, no big deal. Coffee is a plant, right? But just utilizing the power and the potency of being with yourself, being with the ritual, and really sending your intentions, your prayers into the water, into that tea as you're drinking it, making it a meditation all into itself, even if it's just for 3 or 5 sips before you rush off for your day. It can be so potent and so powerful. And you can add those essences too. So not essential oils. Essential oils we do not add internally. Essences are energetic. They're vibrational medicine, so you can do that internally, and they're super safe and gentle. So making sure I'm adding them, I'm mentioning them both, so I don't want to confuse and conflate them. Essential oils are very different from flower essences. So essences, internal. Essential oils, no, internal. Okay, that would be external and always diluted. So tea. Okay, V steams or P steams, right? Prostate or vaginal steams are really potent, and certainly they are utilized for physical imbalances and physical components of the healing abilities. And this is way older than, Goop and Gwyneth stuff, because I know she's the one who kind of Gwyneth Paltrow brought it back into this spotlight. But these are very old, ancient practices that are so healing for all genders, and not just physically. So I was talking about that there are a lot of physical attributes that can help, but when we're thinking about the womb, or that area, the reproductive center for whatever gender, whatever your body parts are, that's our creative center. And it's not only about reproductive, energy as far as literal, like, if you have a womb and you're going to grow a baby, there's one side, but it's our belly chakras, or, our belly energy center. And that's all about manifesting your life, creating your dreams, dreaming big, having visions for yourself, and walking your talk in the way that speaks and sings to your heart. And that's a lot of, that belly energy, that, belly center, the sacral chakra, if you follow that. And And so we want to utilize the V steams and the P steams for accessing that too, for healing, because a lot of us have big wounds in our wombs, especially for like literal wounds. You know, miscarriage or pregnancy loss, if you've gone through abortions, if you have had any, you know, issues with your reproductive parts, and had surgeries, there's so much can happen in that center. And that is such an important place spiritually for us to focus on. So V steams and P steams, they are so helpful physically, but also spiritually. So they're really lovely. You don't have to get a fancy V steam seat, although you can. They're lovely wooden ones you can buy. They're all nice sanded down and shellacked for you. But you could also just get a really simple like plant stand that's wide enough for your hips, and then you can just create like a little donut. You can actually buy like a donut cushion with a hole, or you can just kind of create a little, I just use towels and create a little like moat of towel that I can just sit my butt upon, and there's still a space for the steam to come on up. So you want to make sure it's like slatted and it's like a grate, if you will, like plant stand. And you want to make sure it's sturdy enough for your weight. Obviously a sturdy metal one is the one that I have. And then you can use a rice cooker, or you can just boil water on a pot and stick it underneath. I will say, please, 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 you know, you want to boil it first. I'm going to tell you what herbs and how much to put in a minute. But you want to make sure to let the steam off a little bit so that you're not burning your skin. Tender things going on down here. So when you're dropping trout and sitting out some hot steam, you want to make sure the temperature's okay. It shouldn't feel hot. It should feel nice and toasty, okay? Relaxing, not like, whoa. Just kind of putting that out there here. So you want to, I would say like 3 quarts at least of water. And when we're using fresh herbs, again, the aromatic herbs are the best, but I will say for like spiritual energetic properties of healing that area of the body, motherwort, nettle, rose for sure, artemisia or mugwort for sure, and honestly any plants that are calling to you. So much of this work, the spiritual work, is what plants are calling your name, what you're drawn to, what have your, you know, even just favorite weeds out there that you just kind of, you always notice around you. That's not for any, it's not coincidence. The plants are talking to you. So tuning into that. So again, especially with the fresh, you know, spring season here, utilize the fresh plants if you have them around you. If not, you know, get some dried is fine. So if we're doing about 3 quarts, you want to probably do 2 to 3 cups of dried herb. Is that too much for 3 quarts? No, I think that's good. And then for fresh, I just use like a bunch of, you know, fresh handfuls. So like 3 huge handfuls of the fresh herb put on into the steaming water. So you don't want to add the herbs and then boil it. You want to boil the water and then throw the herbs in, because you want the aromatics nice and fresh, okay, into the steam. And oh, yarrow is a really lovely one too, super protective and nourishing. Your plant stand or your seat or whatever, you're going to stick. You want to create your little cushion, your little donut, whether a bath towel or whatnot, and then you want to wrap yourself in towels. So I like to use a big bathrobe, and also, you know, wrap a towel around you, so you're creating like a little tent. And you don't want any of the steam to come out, so you want to go wrap around your legs all the way down to the floor, okay, of the area you're sitting upon. And I like to sit there for at least 20 minutes to 30 minutes, and it's so relaxing because you're literally in a little sauna. Bloodstream, okay, all the tiny little molecules, especially from the aromatics, are getting absorbed through your skin and absorbed into your bloodstream. And sometimes if you're using a lot, you'll actually taste them on your tongue eventually. It's very, very cool if you have put enough in and if you're sitting there for long enough. So it's a really amazing, just the magic of the plants, and even those tiniest little molecules working their favorite time to do V steams is if you are tracking your cycles, if you're someone who bleeds, a day or 2 before you start bleeding, because it also helps to stimulate a healthy cycle, or on the end of the cycle along. For folks who don't menstruate, you can do it anytime. I think sometimes full moon and new moon energy is really great to utilize. Familiar with my website, check it out, jupiterslabyrinth.com. If you Google pelvic love, I have a whole blog post outlining some other practices for images are on there too if you want more guidance around the specifics there. All right, it's a couple more things I wanted to talk about, and they're really very simple and very sort of obvious things that we can be doing to connect to plants, and that's just to get outside. Okay, getting outside and communing with nature, not even just the plants, but just like the dirt and the trees and the sunlight and just even the bugs, is so important for self-care. We are very much disconnected from nature. Like, you know, the fact that we have a name for nature that doesn't include us, like it's like it creates a separation as if we are not part of it, is really toxic. And it's something that, you know, the joys of technology also kind of bring in the challenges of technology and just, again, creating more and more space away from our roots. So even if you're, you know, even if you're in the city and maybe there's not a lot of flora or fauna around you, you know, go buy some fresh local plants or fresh cut flowers from the farmers markets. Bring them into your home. Just sit and gaze upon a flower. Just be present with it. Let your heart just soak it in and give your own heart, you know, loving back to the plant. And just in those moments, just utilize that connection of life. Life connecting to life is such a beautiful practice, and it's so simple and yet so easy to do any moment you can remember. Again, in the middle of work, you're having a hard day, go for a walk. Just take a seat next to even like a lawn. You might see a spot of dandelion. Just take a moment to like connect with it. It has life, it has vitality. And people like me say it has consciousness too. Maybe it has some words of wisdom to you. Maybe you can kind of pour out your heart and ask it for advice, and maybe it'll say something back. Who knows? But the value of getting outside in nature, even if it's just a 5-minute walk down the city street or on a trail next to your work, is so underutilized. Really, truly revitalize us and reset us. Hopefully even, you know, flicking the switch off and on depending on what your triggers might be for the day. It's just such a beautiful reset, and it's just such a beautiful way to remind us what we're part of, and to bring our I think that was all I wanted to talk about, and I'm so bummed that Mercury, no, I can't blame Mercury. It was my bad too. I was not paying attention. I hit the wrong button on my first stream, so I don't know how. I was hoping to post questions or comments with you here, and maybe some of you are there. I can't really tell on my end if anyone has tuned in or not, but if you wanted to post a question or a comment or anything out of the ordinary, I'll give you a minute to do so, because I wanted this to be a little bit more interactive if I was able, but of course, that's not how it worked out, and no big deal. I think I'm going to be able to tune in and post questions later as well, but that was all I wanted to share tonight, and I wanted to leave again time for Q&A if there was any out there, so I'll just wait another minute and see. And again, you can post later too if you'd like to. Oh, another really great way to use herbs is just to put them in your mason jar. I just have fresh plants in here with water and ground ivy. It's almost like an essence. Okay, I'm just gonna assume no one has, but thank you so much for joining me if you did, or watching this later if you are, and feel free to keep posting questions in the comments if you have them, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your night. Okay, thanks so much, guys.